I could have named this video something like "Get those animals and never have algae again." But that would be just wrong, at least to some degree. In the following 4 minutes, I will explain why animals like snails and shrimp will not solve your algae problem, what they can do for you instead, and which animals I would recommend. Let's get straight to the point. If you have a massive algae problem, meaning having a huge amount of algae for a long time, especially when your tank is not in its first weeks, the only way to get rid of it is to find the source of the algae problem and battle it. Of course, this doesn't sound as exciting as just get some snails and everything will be fine, which is why there is a lot of content saying exactly that. And while those animals will eat algae, they don't stand a chance if your algae is flourishing. It just grows way too fast. There are multiple reasons why algae problems occur. Most of the time, it has something to do with an imbalance of nutrients and light, or that you don't have enough healthy plant growth, which often is kind of the same thing though. You can learn more about this in some of my other videos, I linked one down below, and other sources on the internet. However, before you think that algae eaters are useless, they will help you with one thing: keeping algae in check in an established tank. And most of them also clean up after fish and plants. Having a completely algae-free aquarium is basically impossible. And the animals that we will have a look at right now will take care of the amount of algae that you will still have, even if your tank is perfectly cycled and stable. Let's start with snails. There are snails for every size of aquarium, and they should be present in every tank. They will mostly take care of any type of surface film algae, especially on the glass and hardscape. In aquascaping, the Nerite and Cleton snails are very popular because they get quite big and have a huge appetite for algae. I have both types in my tank, and while they are great, I don't think that I will buy them again, for 2 reasons. First, they are all wild caught, which is a con for me on its own, but even if that is not a problem for you, this also means that you might have bad luck and the snails you buy have taken damage because of the long transport. I have had quite some deaths of those type of snails when I got new ones in the past. Second, they are unable to reproduce in aquariums, which means that sooner or later you will have to buy them again. And you will find these very sturdy eggs all over your tank, although this never bothered me. I think that smaller types of snails like bladder or ram's horn snails are a better option. The biggest pro is that they will reproduce, which might scare some people because they could become a plague. But if you think about it, if a huge amount of snails survives in your tank, there has to be a huge amount of food, aka algae and detritus. If you reduce that, the amount of snails will also decrease. Ram's horn snails also come in a lot of beautiful colors and they are very efficient algae eaters as well. So summed up, just get a handful of those and you will never have to buy snails again. Next on the list are shrimp. They are the perfect complement to snails because they will eat pretty much everything that is not a surface type of algae. And of course all kind of leftovers in your tank. The most famous species of shrimp is the Amano shrimp, which is an excellent algae eater and also quite fun to watch. And while they are also unable to reproduce in your aquarium, like the Nerite and Cleton snails, they are very hardy and can live up to many years. An alternative would be Neocaridinus, which are available in a ton of colorways. They will reproduce in your aquarium, which is very cool, but unfortunately nothing comes close to an Amano shrimp when it comes to eating algae. But for a small tank, they are definitely the better option because Amano shrimps get quite big and are very active, so they need some space. But there might be a way to combine the advantages of both animals. The Malava shrimp. Size of a Neocaridina, can reproduce, and apparently a worthy opponent to the Amano shrimp when it comes to eating algae. I might check them out in the future, so if you don't want to miss out on that, subscribe. And that's it for me. No algae eating fish. I know that there are many fish that are supposed to be great algae eaters, and honestly, I haven't tried any of them. And since there seems to be a big con for every fish, I also don't intend to do so. First, a lot of them get really big, especially the ones which are being promoted for being excellent algae eaters, like the Siamese algae eater. I also read that they get less efficient at algae eating when they get older, and more territorial and aggressive on top. Another candidate would be the Otocinclus catfish, an unproblematic small fish. But they are pretty much all wild caught and quite sensitive. So from everything I heard, the mortality rate of those little guys is pretty high. So based on everything I know about this topic, I don't think that this is something I want to support, but in the end everyone has to decide for himself. I'll see you in the next one.